Well, you may have seen on the television and other advertising a lot of talk about CTP green slip insurance. Well, it was a product that was deregulated about 4 years ago, and of which the NRMA has been the major player in the field. But I thought we'd get an update about how it's going and what it really means, and so on the line I have David Piper, the Senior Manager Underwriting.
Nice to talk to you, David.
Yeah, good. And of course I think many people know you from your previous job in the legal department.
That's right. I moved in June of this year after 28 years. And I'm very happy to be over here, and I'm enjoying the new challenges. And I think that it just shows you how we can move, and people do move throughout the organisation.
Was it a bit hard to make the decision to move?
Certainly it was very hard, but after I got back into the hurly-burly of it over here, I'm certainly enjoying it, David, and enjoying my contact with new parts of the organisation and new people.
Yeah, it's good stuff, good stuff. Well, of course, when was it that the CTP became deregulated? How did that happen?
Well, it was an allocated market share from the 1st of July 1989, and the NRMA was allocated 30% of the market with 13 other insurers.
Right.
And from the 1st of July 1991, the whole market went to competition, and as a result of that competition, our market share has gone up and down, and we're very pleased to say that we've got about 32% of the market as at the 30th of November.
Yes, it has been extremely competitive, hasn't it? A lot of advertising.
It has, and competitors have been offering add-on products such as cover for the at-fault driver, because in the third-party system, the at-fault driver doesn't get any normal compensation.
Yes,
we believe that the extra benefits that we offer are fairly unique in that we offer immediate help for you and your family if you're involved in an accident, and that includes not only the at-fault driver, but also includes people driving your car or occupants in your car, including your family, and that's such things as immediate counselling in the event of a trauma, repatriation, travel assistance, and home care, house help, in the case of families requiring assistance. And we believe that that's a very valuable add-on, which is immediate assistance and doesn't require a claim form.
Yes, see, the normal process might be that if you've caused an accident and someone breaks their leg, then the insurer is required to go through the medical process to get plaster on the leg and fix it up. But you're saying that, of course, there's much more trauma and inconvenience that person may suffer.
And all these people have to do is to ring the care line, the 132-900 helpline, as the patrols would be aware we call it, and they get immediate assistance.
Yeah, and so we are offering that extra bit of help to help people get back to normal rather than just patching up their medical problem.
As an add-on to the CTP or green slip policy.
And that's something that really makes us unique from the rest of the product?
It does, yeah.
And I think that's something we can, with pride, be telling people about.
Well, we're very proud of it. We're very proud of it, and we use it as a very strong selling tool. And I think that our patrolmen are very strong sales agents for the NRMA, not only, of course, for the CT product, but for the NRMA generally, and I'm sure that they're aware of that.
And, of course, the best approach for sales is not the hard sell, but merely to be confident and know what the product's about.
Exactly right.
Tell me, what would happen if I buy a new car and they have it already registered, or can I say which CTP insurer I want?
This is something that we're doing a campaign on at the moment, indicating to the general public and through this medium to our patrols that the dealer doesn't have to choose the CTP insurer for you. You can choose it yourself. And our patrols or our members can just ring the 132 number, 132 number,
yep.
And they'll be provided with the green slip over the phone if they want to do it by credit card.
Of course, some dealers may get a commission for selling a particular product.
They certainly do, and that's, of course, the incentive for the dealer, but
yes.
That doesn't have to be the case.
No, of course, the buyer can pick the one that they feel most comfortable with.
And we would encourage our patrolmen to do that themselves and to pass that message on to the membership generally.
Mate, that's great. Thanks very much for your time, and keep up the good work.
David, always a pleasure to talk to you and to our patrols.
Good on you, mate. That was David Piper, Senior Manager Underwriting for CTP.
The voice of NRMA Road Service. This is VH2AM. Here's another handy hint.
Well, Harold Donner, Road Service Patrolman from the Lane Cove area, has a particular handy hint to tell us, and I've got him on the line now. G'day, Harold.
Good morning, David. How are you today?
Good, good. You've got something to do with a VN Commodore. You reckon can get them going?
Yes, I've had this problem a couple of times and I've solved it. It's to do with the petrol pump on the VN Commodore, and quite often when you crank the motor over, you can hear the petrol pump going for quite a few seconds longer than the normal time,
Right.
which sort of gives the sentence of lack of fuel pump pressure.
And the motor won't run at all.
And it won't, well, sometimes they will run slightly, but normally they won't run. But you can pick, and you can also hear underneath the bonnet as well, and feel the fuel line with the low fuel pump pressure. And the way that I've overcome it, I've got hold of a little hose clamp that you use for the petrol line, and I've put it onto the return to fuel tank line near the pressure regulator.
Right.
And I've squeezed the hose clamp up to a position where the engine will then run quite satisfactory to get the member back to a dealer to get the petrol pump replaced.
So you just by squeezing it, you increase the pressure.
You're increasing the pressure on the fuel pump, because it's restricting the pressure back to the tank, which has built up the pressure to the injectors, and the pump will operate quite sufficiently for the member to get back to the dealership.
Get back to somewhere to fix it up properly.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's a great little hint, and thanks very much for telling us that one,
It's
Harold.
a pleasure.
Okay, that was Harold Don from Lane Cove. Well, NRMA Insurance is a strong part of the NRMA organisation, showing that we can give good service and good management to our customers in all areas. It's been another outstanding success. But insurance is not always easy to explain, even when you've got good news. In the last year and a half, we've had rebates going on some insurance policies, giving something back to the customers. Well, to find out how it's been going, I have on the line Peter Corrigan, the General Manager for Insurance. Hello, Peter.
Hello, David.
Now, tell me, how's it been going? Has it been successful, the rebate?
In general terms, yes, it has. It's come about through a situation where we've had a couple of very good years financially, and we were looking around for ways in which we could share that good result with the people who'd provided the good result, and that's the people who pay their insurance premiums, our policyholders.
Yep.
And we came up with the renewal rebate scheme as a way in which we could reward people who had contributed to our financial success, and reward them in a way in which we hoped would keep them with the company.
So that's why it was on renewals and not on new business.
That's right. If it had been something that was offered on new business, then potentially we would have been giving things away to people who may not have been with us in the past. That is that somebody could have switched from GIO or other insurance companies to us to share in whatever that benefit may have been.
And has it pushed up the renewal rates?
It certainly has. In all of the portfolios that are affected by the rebate, we've seen an increase in renewal rates over the last couple of years. And when you think about, say, our car insurance portfolio, for example, where we've traditionally had very high renewal rates in the high 80% mark, to get another couple of percentage points on top of that as a renewal rate is really a good achievement.
Yeah, getting an achievement at that margin is very difficult, and so in that regard it has achieved a great deal.
Yep. I think in the last 12 months we've seen a number of things happen. We've had the rebate scheme introduced. We've introduced the 25-year gold membership benefit. We've brought all of our helpline benefits together into one package, and the marketing of all of that to our membership and policyholders has seen an increase in people's loyalty. They do want to stick with the organisation more than they had in the past.
So the rebate is not our only ace up our sleeve. It's been just one part of a package, and it's all those elements that will be continuing on.
That's right. It's all of those combined, which I think combine to present the image of the organisation that we want to present, which is one, of people trusting the organisation, of having very strong feelings of loyalty to the organisation. But to back all of that up, we do, of course, have to provide the service to support all of the products, as well as be competitive in terms of pricing.
Yes, and we were talking to Ray Willing just a bit earlier about the fires and how we have to perform in those areas when if you pardon the pun, when the heat is on.
That's right. I mean, insurance in particular is a promise for a future service, and you can have the best advertising in the world, but if you don't deliver the service at the time that it's required, then that's going to impact on your reputation in the long run. And it's the sort of response to the recent bushfires that have really built the NRMA insurance reputation in terms of responding to crises such as that and the Newcastle earthquake, amongst others.
I remember when I was in home insurance that after the windstorm that went through the north of Sydney, the NRMA was the only insurance company that was invited to a street barbecue 12 months later because we were the only company that no one had heard any complaints about. That's good stuff, isn't it?
Yep, well, that's typical of the sort of anecdotal response that really is what it's all about.
Yeah, tell me though, of course, even though we've had good investments and that's allowed us to have a rebate, we've still had to do things like rating, varying rating factors. And I think out on the patrols, they've had people who've got a rebate, but their premium is still higher than it was last year. How did that come about?
Yep. Well, it's not just the patrols who are getting that sort of feedback, of course. It's coming through the branches and through the telephone networks.
Yep.
And this comes to the issue you were talking about earlier in terms of it being a difficult thing to communicate. We looked at the rebate as a separate issue in terms of being something to share our past success with policyholders. At the same time as doing that, we had to make sure that we were still pricing the product correctly for the future. If we hadn't done that, we'd get a couple of years down the track and there'd be a huge shock required in terms of premium increases to get us back to the right level. And it also has built into it this issue we're talking about in terms of new policyholders. If we didn't continue to price our product correctly, that is, if we subsidised what the real price was, then new policyholders coming to us would be getting that benefit. The idea of the rebate was to share our past success, but at the same time as doing that, we had to make sure that we were pricing the product correctly for the future.
So where did we perform particularly well in order to have this extra money to give a rebate?
The majority of that good performance was in our investment area, where we had a very good investment result over that period. But there are a number of other things. One of them, for example, was that the CTP product was quite profitable during that time. And another one that was just a once-off windfall was that we had a taxation benefit that accrued to the company in the first year we did the rebate. So there were a number of things that combined to give us a very good financial result. What we need to be careful of is that we weren't looking to subsidise our core products such as car insurance and home insurance because of those good results. As a company, what we try and do is run each of our products on a profitable basis, so that in the car portfolio, for example, things such as the state of the economy, the rainfall pattern, the theft rate for motor vehicles, all of those things are things we take into account in setting our rates on a normal basis.
And of course, you're saying there's those one-off benefits that we had, but people still are going about normal day life where their particular performance is affecting their insurance rate. And so someone may get the benefit of a rebate, but the disbenefit of a change in rating factor.
That's right. Each year we conduct a very thorough analysis of each portfolio to determine whether there needs to be either an overall rate increase or some adjustment in the rating factors. And in the current year, for example, we made some changes to some of the suburbs in Sydney that we felt had to be either put into a higher risk category or into a lower risk category, so that on an individual basis you may have people in a location who've been subject to a higher level increase than others. And in fact, in some cases this year, there are people who are probably paying less than last year because they've moved into a lower risk suburb. A very good example of that in recent times was the Wollongong area, which if you go back 2 years ago, it had very high car theft and burglary rates. And they were at a level where the Wollongong area was approaching metropolitan Sydney in terms of their ratings. We didn't just rush in and put up the car insurance and home insurance rates down there to reflect that. We started talking to the community about taking action to reduce those rates in terms of the theft rates and the burglary rates, and subsequently we didn't have to put our insurance premiums up as much as we would have.
Yeah, but Peter, thanks very much for your time. It's good to hear that there are a lot of details and a lot of thought going into the way that you rate, and sometimes that is hard to explain, but we hope with that sort of background we can be confident in when we're talking to our members. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, Peter.
This is VH2AM, the voice of NRMA Road Service. Here's another handy hint.
Well, now a handy hint from our Western Zone, and out there is Bill Cantrell from Seven Hills, and he's got a suggestion about what he had to do when someone tried a bit of home handy maintenance. G'day, Bill.
Hey Dave, how are you?
Good. What happened with the guy in the oil?
Mate, this guy was up the mountains and he's on his way home from Bathurst or somewhere, and decided he'd better fill it up with some fuel and check the oil.
Yeah.
He checked the oil, and I don't know if he put the dipstick in far enough, but he decided to add some oil to it. So he goes in and buys 4 litres of oil for his car and puts it in the motor.
All the 4 litres?
The whole 4 litres, the whole can. You know, you go in and buy a drink of Coke, can of Coke, and you have a drink.
I sense that may have been just a tad too much.
And I think it was a tad too much, because he got down on the expressway on his way home, and the car started to blow a lot of blue smoke out the back of it, and its power started to drop off and drop off and drop off.
So what do you do in those situations? How do you get rid of oil like that?
Well, the only way to get rid of it is to drain it out. Because what actually happens, there's too much oil in it, and the crankshaft starts to push it around and pushes it up into the cylinders, which makes it blow all the blue smoke, and the spark plugs get a lot of oil on them.
But, of course, you can't just let the oil drain onto the road from a pollution point of view. What did you put it into?
You can't do that. And that's one of our problems. We don't carry enough containers to empty it all out into, so I thought to myself, well, what am I going to do here?
Right.
And on the side of the road, our nice expressway has got all these pretty little bottles, 2-litre Coke bottles laying on the side.
All right, yeah.
From people who actually throw them out the window.
But you put them to practical use.
And I put them to a practical use. I cut the tops off them, and we drain the oil into that. The member actually helped. As I was underneath, putting one underneath, he was holding onto one, and he'd pass it under me as we kept through. We filled him up, and then we refill the sump again and clean the spark plugs, and away he went home.
Oh, so you poured it all back then into his container that he had?
Yeah, into his container, so there's no oil left laying around.
Mate, it's amazing what people do when they try to save a few dollars and do their own maintenance when they don't know anything about it.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the message out of it. And, of course, to use any facilities like Coke bottles to help you drain the oil out and keep it.
Most patrolmen have got that bit of a flair in them, the old, what do they call it?
Streetwise sort of stuff. True. Yeah. All right, Bill, thanks very much for that handy hint.
Okay, Dave.
And that was Bill Cantrell from Seven Hills in the Western Zone. And this has been the first audio tape on VH2AM. We hope this has been helpful to you in giving you some familiarity with some aspects of the NRMA. And I'd particularly like to thank the patrolmen who've offered some of their handy hints of what it's like out there on the road. Of course, the main point about this tape is to get feedback from all the patrols. So if you have any suggestions or ideas or handy hints, please make sure we hear about them. And that's what the inlay in the tape that you've got is all about. There's a tear-off section there to encourage you to easily fill in any thoughts that you've got, any suggestions, send them in to us, and then we can deal with them. So until the next tape, I'm David Brown, and this has been VH2AM, the voice of NRMA Road Patrol.